the Avengers supposedly Earth's mightiest heroes, except for the ones who couldn't even handle basic teamwork. These so-called Avengers managed to fail harder than most villains, with mismatched powers, chaotic leadership, and a complete lack of coordination. If you thought the Avengers were flawless, in this video, I'm going to show you every worst version of the Avengers, all in one video. The Great Lakes. The Great Lakes Avengers, a group of underqualified heroes without powers and even our personalities, often found themselves in over their heads. Their misguided attempts to save the day only worsened the situations they faced, from fighting villains who were more ridiculous and dangerous to causing public embarrassment. Their failures were legendary. Despite the setbacks, they kept pushing forward, creating an unpredictable and chaotic legacy. The Dark Avengers. Norman Osborn masterminded a twisted plan to deceive the world by assembling a team of villains posing as the Avengers. With characters like Bullseye impersonating Hawkeye and Venomous Spider-Man, the Dark Avengers became a ticking time bomb. As their true nature started to unravel, internal conflict grew, resulting in betrayal, chaos, and ultimately the collapse of Osborn's facade, showing how dangerous a villain masquerading as a hero could truly be. Avengers AI. The Avengers AI team, led by Vision, struggled with their artificial nature while trying to protect humanity. Programmed to fight rogue guys, they found themselves at odds with their own purpose when one of their own turned against them. Their missions blurred the lines between heroism and villainy, and as they confronted not just enemies, but their own identities, tensions rose, putting both the world and their team at risk. Savage Avengers. The Savage Avengers, made up of anti-heroes like Punisher, Wolverine, and Conan the Barbarian, relied on violent methods to bring justice. Their bloodthirsty approach created more enemies than allies, and their tendency to ignore the collateral damage left a trail of chaos. As tensions within the team grew, their missions became a dangerous game, where the line between heroism and brutality was often crossed, causing more harm than good. West Coast Avengers. The West Coast Avengers, a second-rate version of the original team, struggled with leadership issues and infighting. Led by Hawkeye, whose decisions often lacked foresight, the team's cohesion quickly fell apart. Their awkward team-ups, power imbalances, and poorly executed plans led to more failures than victories. The Young Avengers. The Young Avengers, eager to follow in the footsteps of their predecessors, found themselves torn between personal struggles and the weight of their legacy. Their youthful inexperience and internal conflicts led to disastrous missions. From power struggles to emotional breakdowns, they learned the hard way that being an Avenger wasn't as easy as it seemed, nearly causing their teams collapse at every turn. The Ultimate Avengers. In the Ultimate Universe, the Avengers were far from the ideal heroes they once were. Their attempts to be a united front were marred by personal vendettas, betrayal, and questionable decisions. With leaders like Captain America struggling to keep order and Hulk's rage threatening to destroy everything, the team fell apart, showing how even Earth's mightiest heroes could crumble under pressure. Avengers 2099. Set in a futuristic world, the Avengers 2099 were supposed to be Earth's last line of defense. However, their reliance on advanced technology and high-tech gadgets didn't stop them from facing catastrophic failures. Unable to adapt to their new era, they struggled with mistrust, internal disputes, and enemies who were far more dangerous than they expected. The legacy of the original Avengers only added to the pressure, and their ultimate failure proved that the future wasn't as bright as they hoped. The Asgardian Avengers. The Asgardian Avengers, composed of godlike warriors, were a powerful team, but their egos and lack of understanding of humanity made them ineffective. Despite their immense strength, they clashed over their different approaches to saving the world. The constant arrogance and inability to relate to Earth's problems led to constant failures, with their internal conflicts overshadowing any chance of success. The Pet Avengers. The Pet Avengers, a team of animal companions to the original Avengers, embarked on their own set of misadventures. Characters like Lockjaw and Throg brought a unique perspective, but their lack of training and coordination often led to disaster. Their oddball missions, filled with misunderstandings and sheer unpredictability, resulted in bizarre outcomes that were as entertaining as they were disastrous. The US Avengers. The US Avengers were created to embody the American dream, but their misguided sense of patriotism led them to make reckless decisions. Led by Sunspot, the team clashed over their approach to justice. Their reliance on over-the-top national pride often backfired, causing more problems than solutions. Whether it was mishandling sensitive international issues or alienating allies. Avengers Academy. Avengers Academy was meant to shape young heroes into seasoned veterans, but their inexperience caused countless disasters. From misused powers to disastrous field trips, These students were not ready for the world of superhero work. Their lack of control and impulsiveness led to many close calls, often leaving the team to pick up the pieces of a mission gone horribly wrong. Occupy Avengers, a team of street-level heroes without superpowers. Occupy Avengers took on powerful threats with nothing but skill and determination. However, their lack of superhuman abilities made it impossible for them to deal with larger-than-life enemies. Led by Hawkeye, the team's reliance on regular human abilities only led to missteps, public failures, and missed opportunities. In the end, their inability to match up against real threats left them defeated. The all-new All-Different Avengers. The all-new All-Different Avengers team brought together a mix of rookies and seasoned veterans, but their conflicting personalities created tension from the start. With diverse backgrounds and different expectations, the team struggled to find cohesion. Whether it was an ideological clash between characters like Iron Man and Kamala Khan or internal doubts from team members, their missions often fell apart before they even had a chance to succeed. The fear itself Avengers. When the Serpent's fear-inducing powers corrupted the team, even Earth's mightiest heroes couldn't keep their composure. The Avengers, already facing a world on the brink of chaos, fell apart as fear took hold of their minds. Some were literally turned into weapons of destruction, while others couldn't make clear decisions, causing mass panic and mistakes that cost them the battle. Their collective weakness in the face of fear led to failure at every turn. The New Avengers. Despite a strong lineup, the New Avengers were doomed by their inability to work together. Conflicting egos between Iron Man, Wolverine, and Luke Cage resulted in constant arguments that derailed their missions. With leadership constantly being questioned and personal issues simmering beneath the surface, their team dynamics were a disaster. Every victory was tainted by internal conflicts that stopped them from functioning as a true team. The Multiversal Avengers. The Multiversal Avengers brought together heroes from different dimensions, hoping to tackle interdimensional threats. However, their different backgrounds and experiences made collaboration nearly impossible. From one-dimensional villains to dimensional shifts that caused confusion, the team struggled to even understand their opponents, let alone defeat them. Their inability to adapt to the complexity of multiple realities led to constant failures. Avengers: The Initiative. Originally intended as a superhero training program, Avengers: The Initiative struggled with its overambitious goals. They attempted to create a new generation of heroes, but many of the recruits were underpowered or unprepared for the challenges they faced. The Initiative failed to meet expectations, with many of its members either dying or abandoning their mission due to the high risk, low-reward nature of their work. LEGO Marvel Avengers game version. The LEGO Marvel Avengers in video games may have been fun, but they certainly weren't the Avengers anyone would rely on in a real battle. While the game version offered humor and unique powers, the team's gameplay mechanics often seemed too over-the-top, relying on puzzles and comedy rather than true heroics. Their failure to establish meaningful stakes in realistic missions made them more of a fun diversion than an actual force for good. Avengers Forever. The multiversal masters of evil from Avengers Forever were a chaotic, multiverse-spanning team of villains meant to defeat the Avengers across different realities. Their lack of unity and focus caused constant failure, as each version of the team had conflicting interests, resulting in defeat after defeat. Their chaotic approach to their goals kept them from posing any serious threat and ultimately led to their downfall. Earth's Mightiest Heroes animated team. The animated Earth's Mightiest Heroes Avengers might have looked impressive on paper, but their execution left much to be desired. The team struggled with weak leadership and ineffective teamwork, often failing to accomplish missions and facing constant internal disputes. Their version of the Avengers was disorganized, and their inability to adapt to the challenges they faced caused them to be far less mighty than their titles suggested. Avengers of 1 million BC. This prehistoric team of Avengers included some iconic members like the First Thor, Black Panther, and Starbrand, but their primitive methods and lack of advanced technology often held them back. Despite their impressive powers, they struggled to deal with threats that required modern knowledge and tactics. Their historical setting and lack of understanding of the larger universe made them ineffective when faced with more complex challenges. Savage Land Avengers. The Savage Land Avengers were formed in the prehistoric Savage Land, a lush, dinosaur-filled jungle. Despite having powerful members like Khazar and the Beast, their team was constantly out of their element. They often struggled to deal with modern-day threats in a time where survival was their primary concern. The lack of experience and tools to handle cosmic-level threats left them ill-prepared and constantly on the brink of failure. Cosmic Avengers. During the Infinity Countdown storyline, the Cosmic Avengers were a team of cosmic heroes and anti-heroes trying to track down the powerful Infinity Stones. While they were certainly powerful, their lack of coordination and personal agendas led to disarray. They could never quite trust each other, and their missions often ended in failure or betrayal. The cosmic scale of their threats demanded unity they never had, causing their downfall. Avengers World. Avengers World was meant to be a global expansion of the original Avengers, with new teams placed across different parts of the world. While the intention was to create a more connected, global defense force, it led to disjointed efforts. The team struggled with a lack of consistent leadership and failed to unite as a single force. Their fragmented structure made it nearly impossible for them to handle global threats effectively, leading to inconsistent results and a lack of success. Secret Avengers Volume 2, 2013. This second version of the Secret Avengers focused on covert missions, but it was plagued by a lack of clear leadership and internal conflicts. The roster included great heroes like Hawkeye and Black Widow, but their covert operations were often undermined by personal agendas and the inability to fully trust each other. Avengers No Road Home. Avengers No Road Home featured a mix of familiar and new Avengers members facing cosmic threats, but their missteps were numerous. The team struggled to balance their personal issues and egos while taking on challenges too big for them. They constantly found themselves outmatched, unable to coordinate effectively, and frequently relying on external help to bail them out. Their inability to handle the growing threats of the universe exposed their weaknesses. Ultimate Comics Avengers. The Ultimate Comics version of the Avengers had one goal: to take down the threats of their altered universe. Unfortunately, they often failed in a spectacular fashion. From Captain America's overbearing leadership to the Hulk's uncontrollable rage, this version of the team was less about teamwork and more about their individual flaws. Their lack of unity and deep-seated personal issues made them a team on the brink of collapse, no matter how high the stakes got. The Ultimates. In the Ultimate Marvel Universe, the Ultimates were a dark, dysfunctional take on the Avengers. Led by a morally questionable Nick Fury, they struggled with corruption, power imbalances, and ethical conflicts. The Ultimates' unstable dynamic and lack of proper checks and balances resulted in decisions that often had disastrous outcomes, leaving the world at risk due to their inability to act as a cohesive unit. Avengers Defenders Alliance. When the Avengers teamed up with the Defenders, the combined team was a mix of powerful but conflicting personalities. While characters like Doctor Strange and Hulk brought immense strength, their differing approaches to heroism led to constant tension. The partnership quickly devolved into infighting, making it impossible for them to successfully fight any threat. This force alliance became more about managing egos and saving the world, causing more harm than good. Zombie Avengers. The Marvel zombie storyline took a horrific turn when the Avengers were turned into zombies. As mindless, flesh-eating versions of themselves, their attempts to save the world quickly turned into a feeding frenzy. The very powers that made them heroes turned them into a danger to humanity, and their lack of cognitive function made them ineffective as anything other than a destructive force. House of M Avengers. In the House of M reality, the Avengers were altered by the powerful Scarlet Witch, creating a twisted version of reality where mutants were in charge. The Avengers were underpowered and disjointed, with many of their iconic members being minor characters or completely altered. Their inability to combat the reality-warping forces of Wanda Maximoff led to a fractured, ineffective team trying to navigate a world they didn't fully understand. Iron Avengers Earth 9997. On Earth 9997, the Iron Avengers were a group of heroes inspired by Tony Stark's tech, but their reliance on the technology of Stark's creations caused them to lack true leadership and teamwork. While they had powerful suits and high-tech gear, they couldn't match the raw heroism and creativity of other Avengers teams. They were constantly fighting over who was in charge and how to use their tech, leaving their potential untapped and their missions incomplete. Darkhold Avengers. In this version, the Avengers were corrupted by the Darkhold, an ancient and evil magical book. The corruption twisted them into dark versions of themselves, with their powers growing out of control. Instead of fighting evil, they became the source of it. The Darkhold Avengers were a team so consumed by dark magic that they became unrecognizable, making them ineffective as defenders and dangerous to everyone around them. Horsemen of Apocalypse Avengers. The Horsemen of Apocalypse Avengers were twisted versions of the Avengers, each member transformed into one of Apocalypse's horsemen. The team was filled with powerful individuals, but their new roles as harbingers of destruction made them unpredictable and deadly. Instead of saving the world, they became a major threat, and their missions were all about spreading chaos rather than protecting anyone, causing more destruction than they could ever prevent. Phoenix 5X storyline. In the Avengers vs. X-Men App storyline, The Phoenix Five were the 5 mutants chosen to wield the power of the Phoenix Force. The team was initially powerful, but the immense power corrupts them, and they quickly spiral into a group of egomaniacal individuals. The team's inability to control the power and their moral failings made them a threat to the world rather than a force for good. MC2 Avengers. The MC2 universe featured a version of the Avengers made up of the next generation of heroes. While many were the children or protégés of the original Avengers, the team's lack of experience and maturity led to constant failures. The younger heroes struggled to live up to the legacy of their predecessors, and their inability to work together effectively led to a series of unsuccessful missions. The MC2 Avengers were often out of their depth and couldn't escape the shadow of the original team. Avengers of the Supernatural. This version of the Avengers was formed to tackle mystical and supernatural threats, but their lack of focus and cohesion led them to fail repeatedly. The team was a mix of mystical characters like Doctor Strange, Blade, and Ghost Rider, but their chaotic methods and lack of unity made them ineffective. They often fought amongst themselves as much as they fought their enemies, leaving them unable to form the solid foundation needed to combat supernatural forces. And that's the list of the worst Avengers teams ever. Let me know in the comments which team you think was the absolute worst. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this, check out my other videos. See you in